And then when it comes to modeling, typically modeling will take like a few hours, depending on how complex the actual thing itself is.
For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and welcome back to Channel 1031. This is episode 3 of Season 2, and Channel 1031 is, of course, the show where I interview fellow haunters and people who work in the Halloween industry. My guest for Channel 1031 today is one of the lead developers for the hugely popular Roblox Spirit Halloween. He's got an awesome animatronic collection, and he's a part of the Leakbusters Spirit Halloween info finding team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guest for Channel 1031 today, Mr. Halloween.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
I have some questions for Ashton about how he does Roblox Spirit Halloween, how he got into Halloween in general, and all the stuff that he's doing right now in the Halloween world. So without further ado, let's get to the questions. Alrighty, so let's get into the questions. So Ashton, right now you're one of the lead developers for the hugely popular Roblox Spirit Halloween. You have an awesome animatronic collection, and you're a big part of the Spirit Halloween info finding team known as the Leakbusters. How did you get into Halloween, and kind of what started your passion for this holiday and got you into everything that you do today?
That's a really good question. There's honestly a few things that I can really attribute to getting me into Halloween. A lot of it kind of happened when I was younger. Like, I remember some of this is really specific, but like I remember Angry Birds had like an Angry Birds Seasons thing, and they like had like a Halloween update and stuff. I was really into that because I just really like the vibe of it all and like Halloween and stuff. Ghostface I can also really attribute because I saw Scream when I was really little, and I remember seeing like Ghostface masks everywhere. That really interested me. And then just like, I think this is probably what everybody has said, Spirit Halloween, obviously, and like Halloween YouTube videos, stuff like that. Just kind of that stuff is really what I guess sparked the whole thing.
Yeah, I try to ask a lot of my guests that question because, and I say this about in every interview at this point, but you get so many different answers, and I really like yours because you brought up Angry Birds Seasons, which I'm familiar with. That's a really interesting thing. Haven't heard that one before. But you hear so many like different stories into how people get involved. Because there's so many paths to get into this one really tight community of horror and Halloween and Spirit Halloween. There's like different branches of it, how I like to think of it. But there's a lot of different paths into it. And again, like you mentioned, Scream is also a big part. Horror movies, I feel like, always have a really big inspiration to people, and that's kind of what a lot of the time you'll hear how people got into it. This next question also ties into how you got into some of the things that you do today, and this more looks towards something that you do a lot, like today and this time. And so the question is, similar to one of my past guests, Halloween Haunter Chad, you are also a part of the Spirit Halloween Leakbusters. You get to see animatronics and other products sooner than ordinary haunters do. How did you land a spot in the Leakbusters, and kind of how did you get into the team, and what did you do to become a part of the self-proclaimed Leakbusters?
Well, I would say that my whole like leak history probably begins in like realistically for me, it would take like start in like maybe 2017, because that's when I was like, I guess I was aware of leaks, because I remember like when the themes got leaked in 2017, I was like around for that, but I wasn't like involved in the community. I didn't know anybody really. But the first year I would say that I was really involved in leaks was 2018 probably, because that's really when I got involved in the community. Summer of 2018, around when, you know, sneak peek season was happening. I met some people. I saw some of the leaks. I found out how to, I guess, find leaks through like the pages and stuff, because back in 2018 they had the names for all the prop pages were nursery rhymes. So once that info kind of got out there, that all those like weird nursery rhyme, like there was what was one of them? They had like I don't know. It was just random nursery rhymes. Like I think they had the Big Bad Wolf, stuff like that. So once that info got out that those were prop pages, I remember I would kind of frequently check them, and at some points they would actually update, and then you see the props. So that's kind of how it all began. And then in 2019, I met Chad, who was another member of the Leakbusters, and he kind of, I guess, entrusted me a little bit with some information, which was very nice of him to do. And then kind of ever since then, the bond with him has grown. And then 2020, nothing really happened. 2021, we kind of enlisted Aiden. We were like, let's try and make like a little group here, kind of trustworthy people. So we got Aiden involved, and then late 2021, I think we got you involved. Somewhere along that line, I was introduced to Frank, but he's not super like involved in the community, but he's a member of Leakbusters also. So yeah, that's basically my whole history with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your take on the story, because I tried to ask Chad, Halloween Haunter, the same question about how he got involved. So it's interesting to hear your story, because you just have a different view on it, because you got involved in a different way. This is kind of a follow-up question. I actually don't have this one written down, but it's just something I thought of. Obviously, you're not allowed to say much about the Leakbusters, but I'm trying to make this as a vague question as possible. If you can answer this, if you can't, just let me know. But if you can, how would you say info finding, because since you're one of the people who's been involved in it for a really long time, like you mentioned, 2018 was your first like real season. How would you say it's different from info finding 2018 to info finding soon 2022?
That's another really good question. It's pretty different. There's some aspects of it that have kind of remained the same, but I would say that a lot of it kind of changed because 2018, the whole links and everything were very easy to find, and I would say somewhat they still kind of are, but it's definitely a little bit more hard in my opinion, because in 2018, if you didn't already know this, prop stock images went up in like April, March, April, somewhere around that time. You can ask Chad about that. But they went up really early, and like a lot of people like Chad were just able to like grab them from right then, and they'd had them all the way from like April to like when they were actually releasing. And nowadays it's not so much like that. There are aspects where it's like, I'd say you could get information pretty early. I won't say what we got early, but there was one thing last year that we got really early on, and it was like a pretty, like a larger thing that like surprisingly we got. But overall it's pretty different. Like, but at the core of it, just finding it itself is pretty the same, I'd say. It's kind of hard to explain. There's more like levels to it though. Like 2018, we weren't like checking shipments and whereas now we do.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because, like you're explaining, there definitely has been somewhat of like an evolution in how Spirit like uploads their items and everything. And I do, there's parts that remain the same, and there's parts that get trickier or different or harder. So it is interesting to hear your take on that. Because as someone like you has done this for a long time, you see like multiple different versions of how it's done. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting to hear.
Yeah.
These next questions, they tie into another thing that you're doing right now, one of your main things, and I would say one of the main things that people know you for, and that is Roblox Spirit Halloween. So the question is, right now you're one of the lead developers for the hugely popular Roblox Spirit Halloween. How'd you get involved in that team? So we just kind of touched on the fact on how you got involved in the Leakbusters. Now you're also involved in the Leakbusters, and you're involved in Roblox Spirit Halloween. How did you get a spot on the Roblox Spirit Halloween team?
Well, those two things, I'm kind of glad you asked those like questions sort of back to back, because in a way they have a bit of correlation, because like I mentioned earlier, 2018 is kind of when I really started getting involved in the community. Around early summer of 2018, I had been playing like Roblox for a while, and I was always kind of fascinated by the whole building aspect of it, because you can make stuff on there. You can kind of make whatever you want. And I'd previously, like a while before that, everybody was really into Minecraft. I loved Minecraft too, but it was kind of really restricting. Like, it was just hard to do certain things, and I guess that's great because it encourages like creativity, like with how you make stuff. But I kind of just liked making everything look as accurate to the actual thing as possible. So 2018, I got curious, and I was like, well, Spirit Halloween is one of those things that I really like. I'm really fascinated by that. I'm gonna go see if anybody's like made a Spirit Halloween game, and I found this game. It was by dev_Bill, who is now my best friend Billy, or Will Bill, as many probably know him. I found that game. It was like a really early version of like the flagship store. It was 2018, so I mean, I don't think I'll be upsetting him if I say it wasn't amazing. I mean, it was all right. But I found that, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. I had known prior to that year that people had made a flagship store, because in 2017 somebody made a flagship store as well. There's something about Billy's flagship store that really like intrigued me. I don't know. But like, he actually had like some of the, like, he had Menacing Molly, because everybody knew she was returning, because her returning video got posted in April of that year. He had Sweet Dreams. I think it was honestly around the time Michael Myers came out, so I think he did have like a Michael Myers model. But over the course of that season, I kind of became more in touch with Billy. Like, I ended up talking to him and stuff, and I had also began to build my own flagship store, which was pretty awful, but it was a start of something that I didn't know it yet, but I would be pursuing for a really long time. And so 2018 came and went. I had my store and stuff. It was really bad. 2019 came, and my friendship with Billy was still pretty good. It was getting better and stuff. We're becoming closer as friends, and I was getting more involved in the community. I think at that point in like 2019, I was like, I think maybe I was a co-owner of the store, which is like the second lowest rank of, being a group. So 2019, I did my store, he did his. Relationship was pretty good there. I remember doing some leak stuff with him. He's a pretty big part of my whole leak stuff as well. But 2020 was kind of the big year. Late 2019, me and Billy were just kind of like, you know what, we've been doing this for a bit. We're pretty good friends. Why don't we just make a store together next year? So that is exactly what we ended up doing. We did a flagship store the next year for 2020. Ended up being really good. We did a theme ideas, or I think at that point it was just called Theme Predictions 2020, and it was really not amazing. The themes were a schoolhouse and a laboratory. I don't know if you've even seen this before, Griffin.
Yeah, I have.
But yeah, it was all right. Like, there was like adjacent props, stuff like that. But yeah, that was like the very beginning of it. Then 2020 came and went. The whole season, was over. And then me and Billy were like, well, I think Billy was really the one pushing to do theme ideas again. So we were like, all right, we did it. But this year we kind of put a lot more effort into it than we had prior. Like, we actually kind of treated it like it was an actual Spirit season. And we released props that were more diverse. Like, Theme Ideas 2020 had majority like possessed children props. The back theme, it was a laboratory, so you can kind of get an idea of what was in there, stuff like that. But for this, we wanted to include something more different in like a variety. And I remember pretty early on, I think it was like August of 2020, I decided I wanted to do like a haunted house with like a street or something. And then the back theme was originally going to be like, I think it was like a bunker or something. And then I think it was also a hospital or an asylum or something. And then eventually we were just like, why don't we do a sewer? Because, there's a house in a sewer, And then now we're doing, that came and went, it gained a lot of popularity. And now we're working on the theme ideas 2022, which is crazy that we're at this point, but we are. Also, sorry I rambled there. I kind of went
totally
off on
fine.
it.
Totally fine. That's the whole point of the show. We got to get opinions and takes from people. But it's definitely interesting to hear that, and you just brought up theme ideas 2022. I know people, anticipation is high. People are very excited. I'm really excited to see the rest. I know right now, in the time of filming, you're currently in the sneak peek process. For the viewers, if you haven't seen any of the sneak peeks yet, definitely go check those out because they have been pretty cool so far. Alright, so these next couple questions also tie back to Roblox Spirit Halloween, and the next one is, Roblox Spirit Halloween designs their own animatronics, themes, and even tabletops. What is the design process like, and kind of what happens from when you guys have an idea to when it's designed virtually, you have a digital sneak peek done? What is that whole process, and kind of how long does it take, and what happens from beginning to end?
Well, usually I would say we start getting ideas for what we want to do around when the first, like, when Spirit's lineup is, like, pretty complete. We'll be, like, kind of, like, randomly, we'll just be like, what if we did something like this, but, like, different? And, like, different in this way, like, we did this sort of movement, like, with Grim has, like, servo motors, so we're kind of like, what if we did something with, I don't know, servo motors, but, like, different, you know, like doing something different, more complex than just what Grim does. So usually we'll start with something like that. Then gradually we'll kind of just design random stuff. Some stuff makes it, other stuff doesn't. Like I believe in early 2021 actually is when the whole design process for some of the props that we're doing now started, which is kind of crazy to me because I don't even remember it being that early, but it was. I remember I drew a few props. I can show you those in DMs if you want, but I don't think that they're going to make it to the actual thing. But kind of, we just start generating concepts and ideas and stuff. And, you know, a lot of stuff doesn't exactly make it, which is, you know, it's cool. Some stuff we'll tweak a bit, like change, you know, the look and movement of and stuff like that. And then other stuff, you know, we'll just kind of like do like one concept for, and then it's like, all right, that's the idea that we're gonna go with. Like our most recent one, Maleficent Marigold. I don't even know how to pronounce the name if I'm honest. That's Billy's whole thing. But I remember he did a concept for her, and it stayed pretty much, for the most part, it's pretty similar, except for like one main thing that we changed. Her like chest was gonna open up, and she was gonna have like creepy like faces in her chest, which was like, that was something that we were gonna do, but I think we were just like, that doesn't feel kind of like enough like a clown, and then also it would be kind of hard to like actually do. So we'll change stuff like that. And then when it comes to modeling, typically modeling will take like a few hours, depending on how complex the actual thing itself is. And then once it's modeled, we'll usually do like a set for it. Sometimes sets, usually they won't take very long. Sometimes they'll take a really long time. I'd say the longest set was probably for Ghostface. Literally the night prior I started modeling, or the night prior I saw Scream 5, or Scream 2022. And when I came home, I felt like modeling Stu Macher's house, which is, you know, the killer from the original movie. So I started modeling that. I was like, it'd be really cool if we could use that as a set. And I didn't intend to complete the full thing, but I ended up doing the whole house. And we used that, and it took a really long time, but it was really worth it because I think it looks awesome. Yeah. But yeah, sets will kind of vary. Sometimes they'll take like 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes they'll take a few hours, depending on how, you know, complex it is. But after that, then, you know, we go in and film the little sneak peek. And then Billy usually does the editing. Sometimes Aiden will help out. And then after that, the whole video basically gets posted, and we get some feedback from our fans, and that's basically the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, you just kind of you answered the question that I had next, so I don't even have to ask it. It was how long does it take? You just answered that with the sets and the animatronics. Also, I do agree with you because the Ghostface set was really, really cool looking, really, really impressive. I'll show it on the screen right now for viewers. It was very, very cool. And just, I think it was really cool because of how detailed it was. Like, I'm always impressed with how realistic you guys have gotten at modeling stuff. And then that one, it was like, the whole video was really, really nice, the street preview. And then it got to Ghostface and that set, it was like, wow, like, it was really, really detailed. Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like it.
This is actually the final main question that I have for you before the bloody bonus, and this one is kind of connected to Spirit Roblox, but also about the skills that you've gotten from Spirit Roblox. So the question is, obviously you've got a lot of experience doing design and creating ideas digitally while working on Spirit Roblox. You've gotten to learn things on how to do sculpting, modeling, just everything without the whole design process in Roblox. Do you want a design job in the future? And if you do, would you like to be on the design team of a Halloween company or possibly going in another direction with design? Because obviously you have a lot of experience with it at this point. And is this something that you want to do in the future for a career?
That is another very, very good question. I would absolutely love to do something that requires, designing stuff like props and stuff. I think that's kind of like the dream for most haunters and stuff. I'd love to do that. That's, it's cool because a lot of people, I feel, don't really get to say that they have like a lot of experience in the whole department unless they're, literally like making stuff, which is really cool. But, it's just cool that I can, say like I kind of somewhat, at least a for the most part. I think I get a little bit of it at least. So it's cool that I can kind of say that I have experience in kind of, if I do end up getting a job doing something like that in the future, I can kind of use this to my advantage a little bit. Which, of course that'd be the dream to actually do something like that. So hopefully it all pans out that way, but only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's perfectly put. Only time will tell. It's gonna be really interesting if you do get a job. I do agree with you. You really would have an advantage, and you would have a lot of experience doing design stuff. I know, obviously, Roblox, you have to be pretty skilled at being able to do the modeling, especially the kind of stuff that you guys are doing. So I do think that it would definitely help you out pretty good. Now, if you watched my last interview, it was with David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown. I actually have a new way of presenting the bloody bonus, and we're doing it again, of course, because it's for every episode now. So we have the two envelopes once again. The A and the B. Is this one upside? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, never mind. I thought it was upside down for a second. A and B, you don't need to know where the blood came from, Ashton, so don't worry about the blood. All you need to do is pick the A or the B.
I'm going to go with A, because A is an amazing letter.
Yes. Let's see what we got. Alrighty, it's a simple one, but it's a good one. It's very, very good.
Right.
So the question is, as you can see, it just says, it's reversed, but it says ghost or zombie on it. So, if you were to become a ghost or a zombie, which one would you rather be and why?
It's an interesting one. I'd say probably a ghost, because I would imagine you retain a bit of intelligence, whereas a zombie, depending on what kind of zombie, I mean, I guess there's like, different, like people view different zombies differently. But I feel like most zombies are kind of stupid. So I feel like I'd rather be a ghost.
Yeah.
So I have to say ghost.
That's a really good take, actually. I didn't know what to expect when I read that. Honestly, I think I would go with you on ghost, actually. But that's a really, really good look on ghost, that you would have some form of intelligence. For all the viewers, let me know in the comments down below. Would you rather be a ghost or a zombie, and why? Put your reasons down in the comments below. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going for about this episode of Channel 1031, episode 3 of season 2. Obviously, I want to thank Ashton, Mr. Halloween, for coming on the show. Ashton, are there any final words you would like to say to the viewers?
Subscribe to GMHaunts on YouTube and follow him on Instagram. He's awesome.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. It's always good when the guest says something good about the host. That's very, very nice. Thank you very much, Ashton. As
You're
for
welcome.
Ashton's social media, you can catch it all down in the description down below. I'll put a link to his Instagram account so you can check out everything that he's working on, including Roblox Spirit Halloween. You're definitely going to want to check out what they're going to be working on. So go check out their YouTube channel. Go check out Ashton's Instagram. Everything will be down in the description down below. And I guess, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. I'll see you guys later for more Channel 1031 episodes. Goodbye.